Hey y'all, it's your girl Jada Vasser, and welcome back finally to All Shades of Chocolate, where I'm bringing the sweetest, the hottest black culture to MSU. I have not said that in who knows how long, but it is good to finally say that back on the mic. How are y'all doing? I have missed y'all. I have missed this room. We got decor in here now. Like, this is not what it looked like when I was in here. We was in the trenches, but I like this a lot. This is eating. So before we get into, the episode, you guys see Demonte. He's back. There you go.
All right,
Just gonna address, the big elephant in the room. All Shades of Chocolate is going to look a little different for this season, these future episodes. I'm going to be the main host of the podcast, and I'll hopefully have guests on every week. We're going to talk about a few different things. The content will be the same, but it'll just be me with different people. So, the past two hosts, we wish them the best on their other endeavors, as, they ventured off to do different things. But I had to bring All Shades of Chocolate back. I miss this room, and I miss talking on here every week. So... And it was, what a birthday month to bring it back for Black History Month, okay? I couldn't let the month go by without getting my yapper mouth on the mic and talking about some stuff for Black History Month, because y'all know me if y'all heard the podcast before. And a little side note, I was a little nervous to bring it back by myself. I was like, could I talk on the mic by myself with other people? Yes, I can. If you know me personally, I can talk all day. But I was like, I was used to doing it with other people. The conversation went. But I met somebody yesterday, and it was funny, because yesterday I was like, should I really record tomorrow? Like, am I going to have enough stuff? Am I going to have enough questions to ask? Just really in my head, doubtful. Somebody tapped me on the shoulder, and they were like, you work at the State News, don't you? And I said, yeah. And they're like, you're on a podcast, aren't you? I said, yeah. She was like, keep doing that podcast. It's really, really good. Wow. I said, you don't know what you just did to me? So I'm here today to keep the podcast going. Shout out to you if you know who you are and live at the landings with me. You know who you are. Thank you for that, because you don't know how much that helped me. So yeah. Hey, Demonte.
Hey, Jada, how are you?
How are you? Good to see you. Good to see you. Good to see you like that. I don't see you every week, 2 days, 3 days a week.
No, it's good to be back on the podcast.
I know. I'm happy that you're my first guest back. I couldn't bring this show back without anybody else but you. So we have a very interesting episode today. Unless you're living under a rock, then you don't know what I'm talking about, which get up under your rock, because I don't know how you don't know what I'm talking about. It's been all over TikTok and Instagram and any social media platform.
Especially Twitter.
Especially Twitter, because Twitter's we're really X.
Well, I'm still calling it Twitter.
Right. So. That's really the one. They've been up in antsy about this one, y'all. Yeah. It's the Super Bowl halftime performance for Kendrick Lamar.
Yeah.
Now, before we get into any details, you're going to obviously see that I really liked it. Skip really liked it. I loved it, okay? Yeah. But a lot of people didn't like it. So just to bring this up, I have to get your viewpoints on it. How did you feel about the performance?
I loved it,
Okay.
I don't want to hop on what some people, Drake fans, sorry, what some people call like the Kendrick or K-Dot bandwagon.
Yeah.
I loved it because, it was a long time coming. Kendrick, he's been in the rap game for over a decade now, really. Like, he deserved his flowers, and I think besides him topping the charts over and over and over again, before him at the Super Bowl halftime show, that's the top. That's the top of the top. So I think, as someone who loves Kendrick, who grew up listening to his music, it was a moment where the culture just came together. I love it. I love it.
No, I definitely have to agree with you. I was yelling. It was me and my sister yelling at the TV. Every song changed the whole 12 minutes. And first of all, it felt longer and shorter than 12 minutes all at the same time.
Right.
When he ended, I was like, dang, he sung so many songs, but I was like, can you keep going?
Yeah.
I don't want to watch the game. I want to watch you perform. This is what I was waiting for.
Forget the Chiefs.
Yeah, forget all of that, but come back on stage. Yes, okay.
Go through the whole album.
And the thing about it is, I feel that it's so important that he did such a halftime show during Black History Month.
Oh, yeah.
the symbolism of his show meant so much more than just, oh, his show wasn't entertaining, or the halftime show was supposed to be for entertainment. This wasn't entertaining, which I can give you small benefit of the doubt. But if you know anybody like Kendrick Lamar, all he does is produce messages with his work. Yeah. He's performed at the Grammys. He's done the Super Bowl before, and all of his performances are nothing but messages to represent what's being black in America is truly like. You know what I'm saying? And to add that specific character of Uncle Sam with Samuel L. Jackson, like, he couldn't have picked a better person to portray that character. And like, you really just had to pay attention to what, especially him, was saying, where Kendrick would perform some different songs. You know, they were upbeat. They were, you know, you was dancing, and Uncle Sam's like, no, too loud, too reckless, too ghetto. Like, Mr. Lamar, do you really know how to play the game? And it's like, do you really know how to play the game? Like, I really feel like the things he was trying to say is to just, like, we're done being quiet, you know, we're done trying to do it the nice way, because if we tried to tell you the nice way, it wouldn't work. So he definitely took the stronghold and just put it out there on the floor, and people vibed with it, and they understood it, or they didn't. And the people that didn't get it, it was really meant for you, because we knew you wouldn't get it. It wasn't that hard to get.
And that's where the Twitter part comes in.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I think, you know, and not to group anyone together or anything, also, these are my opinions and not the opinions of the state news. Okay. I think truly the only people who truly hated the halftime show, and, you know, people can have opinions. I'm not saying people can't have opinions, but I'm saying is the ones who truly hated Kendrick guts in a halftime show, they hated NFL for inviting him, were, first of all, Drake fans, or I should say hardcore Drake fans, you know, the OVO fans or whatnot. Right. I had to...
Yeah, I had to censor yourself.
I had to censor myself, sorry. So you have the Drake fans first, like not all of them, you know. I like Drake. I like listening to his music. I'm going to say it right now. But there is just some people who go over the top, and it's some Drake fans. So it's them. It's some, you know, conservative people. I recognize a bunch of conservative podcasters and talkers on Twitter just, you know, mocking the halftime show, just mocking, you know, the symbolism throughout it. And to me, myself, I thought, okay, yeah, this not only went over your head, but this is really meant for you. Because, you know, this is like, he's talking about the establishment right in front of the president of the United States of America, and you didn't even catch that. Yeah. So it's that, and I think there's some Kendrick fans who didn't like it. More importantly, those who, you know, are nostalgic. They were hoping to hear some of his older tracks from, you know, a decade ago, but he didn't really play any of it. It was really just more of his recent work, with the exception of All of the Stars with SZA.
I love that song.
I love that song so much. But yeah, you know, they were saying, well, Not Like Us does not symbolize his entire career, and which is true. Yeah. But A, there's 12 minutes that goes into a halftime show, and B, I personally think that the songs that were picked were they were just great. So there's no other way to put it. So
yeah, no, I definitely agree with you, and I definitely agree with you that yes, it was definitely, you know, Drake fans who didn't like it, but also Kendrick fans. I feel like there's two flips of the coin of Kendrick fans. There's definitely, you know, the nostalgic fans, which I would even consider myself a nostalgic Kendrick fan, who said, okay, he didn't really play none of his older songs, which, okay, fair. But I do agree with what you said. The amount of time he had, the songs that he played, and the order in which he played them, it all led up to him fan playing Not Like Us. And the other side of the other side of the argument is the fans that only became his fans because of Not Like Us. So all they know about Kendrick Lamar is Not Like Us. That was like their first introduction, big broad eye to who he is as an artist, which if you only go off Not Like Us, you're not gonna like the rest of the performance, because you have to be an old school Kendrick fan to know that this is the music Kendrick makes no matter what. He makes music like this. Yes, he can do Not Like Us, and he can make a diss track in 5 minutes and release it for the world to see and be, the best thing ever. But he makes songs that touches your spirit and your emotions, stuff that he went through in Compton. And, he brings all of like where he grew up and all that stuff into his music, as a lot of artists should. And that's why it relates so many for the culture. And, it relates so many to all these other artists and things like that. And speaking of the Super Bowl, if y'all listen to All State Talk before, y'all know I love Michael Jackson. That is my favorite artist of all time.
Yeah.
But Kendrick Lamar has surpassed Michael Jackson's Super Bowl performance by 0.1. That's it.
Yeah.
Kendrick Lamar's Super Bowl performance got 133.5 million views, and Michael Jackson got 133.4 million views. Yeah. He surpassed Michael Jackson's performance by 0.1, which you could say it's not a lot, but it's like, you passed the GOAT. Like, you passed somebody who was unpassable for your Super Bowl performance. So regardless of if people liked it or not, you watched it because you knew that this person was going to go up there and make some noise. So which is why I don't believe when people be like, oh, it just wasn't for me. You sat there the whole 12 minutes and listened to everything this man had to say from beginning to end. You liked it. Yeah. That's why you turned your TV. You could have turned the channel. You could have put on another Super Bowl performance. You could have turned...
Man, all right, I'm nuts. I'm sorry.
Turn
Turn TV off. Turn
this TV off.
I don't want to get copyrighted.
Right,
sorry.
No copyright. But literally though, you could have done anything else, but you sat there and you watched it because you knew you wanted to analyze what Kendrick Lamar was going to do. The whole world was waiting to see how he was going to produce the Super Bowl performance, and he killed it. He did what he had to do, and he stuck true to who he is as Kendrick Lamar, not who the world wants Kendrick Lamar to be. I think the world has a view of how they want Kendrick Lamar to be. They want him to be the diss tracker, stay into the beef, stay into the rap stuff. When even his diss tracks, he said, I don't care about the rap stuff. That's not who I am. I'm going to do it because I'm not about to let you, shame my name. But that's not what I spend my time in the studio for. I do it for this, which is like GNX. Again, love the GNX album. It's great. Okay. Yo, tickets for this concert is way too expensive. We could drop that down like $100. I'm going to try to be there as much as I can.
That'd be great.
Right, that'd be great. But yeah, it's like, so I got a few questions I want to ask you. Because I told you a little bit that I kind of want to compare Kendrick Lamar's Super Bowl performance and Michael Jackson's. So you see the views are different by 0.1. That's it. That's the only, I researched this. I was on websites, being a journalist. I got to check my sources. I checked all of them. They said the same number, only 0.1 difference. But both of those Super Bowl performances had a message. Michael Jackson's Super Bowl performance wasn't just a performance of his hit songs. Right. He played songs in a specific order to tell a message to the world at that time in 1993. Fact check me, audience. I think it's 93 when he did that Super Bowl performance, and now Kendrick did his 2025. But why do you think Kendrick got so much more outward hate for his performance? These were two black artists. They had a message to prove. They had something to say to the world, whether the world liked it or not. But we see all the discourse that Kendrick Lamar is getting because of what he was trying to say in his performance. So why do you think, or do you think in 93 Michael Jackson got hate too, but because he was Michael Jackson, it was like, what do you think?
I think both gentlemen received not the same amount of hate, of course. They received hate, like, just period. I think firstly, Michael Jackson, I'll say this right now, no one will ever surpass Michael Jackson. I think in this case, Kendrick surpassed him by 0.1 in viewers. But I think with Michael Jackson, the message that he gives in his songs, and most people really don't recognize this or want to really talk about it, but some of his songs, it talked about the establishment that was, the United States or, the government, or how there's certain people starving or just there's just people hurting, and how there's other people who can make it better not doing it. He had songs like that. They don't care about us. I recall learning that song was controversial to some people. So it's not surprising that MJ received, the hate that he did. But I think with Kendrick, I think given the fact that he has created some other songs that, some people might call protest music or activist music, like the song All Right.
I love that song.
I love that song. It's primarily used during protests or riots. And I think when most people who are not really familiar with Kendrick Lamar, but they are familiar with that song itself and what it's associated to, they just automatically just give him hate. I wish that was untrue. But as journalists, I do my my research, and unfortunately, Kendrick received hate on just like, in my opinion, ridiculous things. Now, of course, an artist can receive controversy for a million things.
Yeah.
I can think of a million different other people right now, but I'm not going to get into it.
Okay.
But I think the reason Kendrick received a little bit more hate this time around is because of social media. The age social media is real. The age of misinformation is real. And I think given the fact when you have misinformation plus social media plus one bad apple in the bunch, and just you could simply say one thing on Twitter right now that is wrong, and 10 people could, find it true. And that 10 people can grow into 100 people, 100 people into 1,000 people, and onward. So I think with that, given the reach that he has on social media, he's going to wind up receiving a whole lot more hate sometimes than, praises or good or whatnot. So I think social media and the age of misinformation plays a huge role in that. And of course, back in the 90s, it still existed, but social media didn't exist. But you had, news networks like CNN or whatever, just like 24-hour news networks, just talking about the same thing over and over and over again, which can cause some people to hate, what they're talking about, including the message itself, which it's not even related to why they hate Michael Jackson or hated the halftime show in the first place, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it definitely makes sense. And you brought up a good point about social media. And, like, sometimes I feel like since I grew up in the age of social media and, like, such advanced technology, I forget that there was a time where this thing didn't exist. Like, there wasn't a platform everybody got on and could just share their feelings about whatever. And like you said, 10 people could believe it, even though it's completely wrong. That 10 people could become 20,000 in a night. And these 20,000 people are going around telling this information like it's true when the person of origin knows it's false and they're not doing anything to fix it. So I definitely agree with that, and I definitely see that as why Kendrick Lamar, we're seeing such a Kendrick Lamar hate train for no reason, kind of like what you said, is somebody took a piece of his performance that they didn't like, which, okay, you can have your opinions, you can have your feelings. Maybe you didn't like the whole thing, but you like majority of it. But you posted the one thing you didn't like, and everybody jumped on your bandwagon and said, yeah, I hated that part too. Now I hate Kendrick Lamar as a person because we hated this 30-second clip of his performance.
Yeah.
Like, what? That don't make sense. And even to compare the two Super Bowl performances, again, doing my little research, I rewatched Michael Jackson's Super Bowl performance just before we recorded today, and I realized that even though his performance was done such a long time ago in '93, the symbolism of what he was talking about is still there. So if you listen to Michael Jackson, or if you know any Michael Jackson songs, he speaks a lot about peace and unity and wanted to collaborate and spread love and joy because he believed that doing it together was better than doing it apart. Now, Kendrick Lamar's message is sort of the same. He's just doing it in a kind of a more harsher, I'm tired of saying the same thing over and over again tone. Like, I want to express that black culture freely without people telling me this is wrong or this is how I shouldn't behave. But looking at Michael Jackson's Super Bowl performance, he had the symbolism of what Kendrick Lamar has. So if if you watch the Super Bowl performance, Kendrick Lamar, he kind of made the American flag with his performers, and there would be certain times where the flag would separate, and he would kind of be in the middle, kind of like talking to both sides, saying, no, we need to come together, or no, this is to showcase that this is what America is like right now. So in certain songs, it would be dance over here, dance over there, and then they would run together to make the flag be the American flag. In Michael Jackson's Super Bowl performance, he had people with these cards that had figures on them, and then when they put the cards up, it had a white fist and a black fist, and they were holding hands while he was singing Heal the World. I think that was a song. So they were kind of dancing around with these flags and, like, you know, these signs to make those fists to showcase that, like, yo, if we can do this thing together, like, if we can come together and really do it, we can make change. And of course, a big thing of Michael Jackson's tenure was he loved charity and he loved children. So he wanted to, you know, showcase that healing the world for our kids, for these next generations, can make it a better place because we're doing all this work for them. Yes. So it's really interesting to see how similar those two messages are, and it's kind of unfortunate to show that we haven't done anything. Like, we've made change, but we're still having these halftime shows to showcase that what we did isn't enough. Like, the things Michael Jackson did in 93 to showcase unity, you could argue that 93 was different than, you know, 2025 in better cases and worser cases. But the fact that there's still room for opportunity and growth at that such high degree to where, you know, Kendrick Lamar came out and he sung songs like, you know, he did All the Stars, and he had those little snippets when he was like, I want to make a move, I want to perform their favorite song, but you know they like to sue. To where it's like, you know, I want to do what I want to do, and I want to come out here and be me and give y'all what y'all want, but I literally can't because people are blocking my steps from wanting to be me. You know,
will be televised.
Man, you picked the right time but the wrong guy.
Yeah.
Like, he's literally hinting, we're hitting to a point where you're gonna back us into a wall, we're gonna fight back, which you obviously can say we've seen in 2020 with the Black, you know, Lives Matter protests, and that we're living in a time where protests aren't, you know, a sacred thing anymore. They're really kind of relevant, and they're being protests are happening wherever in the world. So it's interesting to see us come into a time where things like protests or, you know, marches or, you know, walks and things like that happen almost every day, but you put a big protest on national television for the world, millions and billions of people to see, and now it's shut down as if it's like, oh, you shouldn't have did that. Like, you should have just went up there and just, you know, performed your hits and just, you know, made it like a concert.
And I think even with that, with how people, or just some people say, oh, Kendrick should have made it such a activist moment. Like, I saw someone actually say that on social media, I should say. I think if anything, I think if anything, that is the absolute equivalent of shut up and dribble. And to those who are not familiar with the term, you know, it's a very racist term, basically telling basketball, NBA players to, you know, simply shut up about raising awareness of, you know, the social injustice status in the world and just play basketball. So I think that itself, that is basically saying, shut up and sing in this sense. And I think, like, even with Kendrick, even with Michael Jackson, these are not the first times this happened. When Beyonce performed at the Super Bowl, which, by the way, Coldplay performed, was a headliner that year. Which I kind of forgot. I love Coldplay.
Nobody remembered that.
I like Coldplay.
Coldplay was the headline artist. Then Beyonce and Bruno Mars, right? That's when they doubled it and came out and basically wiped Coldplay out of the picture.
It was Beyonce and Bruno Mars, but really, I think the main part, even then, whatever year that was, Beyonce. When I was little, I thought she was dressed like Michael Jackson. And, you know, someone fact-checked me now.
I think a lot of her pieces was in memoriam of Michael Jackson.
Yeah, in memoriam, in remembrance of Michael Jackson. I read somewhere that said it was, like, in remembrance of the Black Panther movement. Regardless, I think she wound up receiving hate for absolutely no reason. Because of, you know, I guess the symbolisms within her performance. That's excluding her and Bruno Mars too.
Yeah.
You know, so I think one thing for sure is In the history of Super Bowl halftime shows, there have been controversies. People did wind up, receiving hate for probably for good reasons. I think one of the other controversies I can think of right now was when Janet Jackson and Justin Timberlake performed.
Yeah.
That was a huge thing.
Yeah.
And Janet Jackson actually wound up receiving more hate and controversy than Justin Timberlake over I believe it was a wardrobe malfunction.
Yeah.
But even with that, people receive hate every single time they perform at the Super Bowl halftime show. I think that's just the standard now. Well, it was a standard then. I think it's going to be the standard, for next year for whoever performs. I'm pretty sure when Kiss performed at the Super Bowl halftime show, I'm pretty sure a bunch of people called FCC and said, "Hey, little Timmy can't listen to this. Yeah. You need to turn this off."
Little Timmy.
No, that's how it was with Rihanna. She wound up receiving. Yeah. I'm not sure the most FCC complaints, but it was like over 100 something FCC complaints. Yeah. But my point is, I think performers, they receive hate for sometimes the most outrageous things, for the most outrageous things, for the most ridiculous things. And I think in this case, since we're talking about Kendrick Lamar, I don't understand why he's receiving the hate he's getting. I do understand, you probably tired of listening to TV Off or Not Like Us or whatever, because it's playing in literally every single function that you can even imagine right now. Yeah. Not at church. No. Well, almost every function.
The church version, I don't doubt him. There's a church version out there somewhere, I'm sure.
Somewhere. But I think for you to hate him for the symbolism that he and his performers performed, that just kind of shows that, this message has not only went over your head, but you're just ignorant. And either A, you simply don't know what he's talking about, which is okay. Some people don't understand what, he was really trying to say that night. Even, 2 weeks after. People are still trying to pick around to see what he was really talking about. It's either you simply don't know what you're talking about, or B, you do, but you choose not to educate yourself. Mm-hmm. And I think that's pretty damn ignorant. So, wait, we can say damn, right? Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay.
Hey, you want to make Taylor
Can we say damn? Okay. All right. Yeah. That's pretty damn ignorant.
Yep. Double down.
Jokes aside, it's just ignorance in the world. And when you have ignorance plus misinformation plus social media, those are bad ingredients for, just a bad time. But overall, I loved the halftime show. Yeah. It was better than Usher. I can say that
Demonte
right now.
Has something against Usher.
I don't have anything against.
He does not like Usher for some reason. I don't know.
I like Usher. It's just some things he do. He overdo it. Like the cherries things. I used to like cherries. I don't like cherries now. I can't eat cherries anymore.
This is what we're talking about.
But
I'm so sorry.
I'm going on a little tangent,
I don't like cherries no more because of Usher.
No.
Oh, Lord.
I'm not saying because...
Yes, you are.
All right.
Yes, you are.
Never mind.
Anyways.
Yeah, I think... Even when he performed, he wound up receiving controversy and hate. Yeah. That's another example. But yeah, I think the bottom line is... It's no matter who performs at the Super Bowl halftime show, I think people are going to wind up receiving, hate and controversy. And that's just a thing set in stone. But usually when you have a black performer, either it being Kendrick Lamar or Beyonce or Usher or Alicia Keys or Michael Jackson, for some reason they receive more hate and controversy than other performers. So I think like that's possibly like a conversation we're gonna have to have.
Oh, absolutely.
But overall, I love it.
Absolutely. And tying into your last point, I think a lot of it, deals with that I believe the media still is not used to, or honestly, I don't know if the media or society will ever get used to just seeing Black people on top like that. And, just seeing those diverse communities dominate the charts and dominate not even just music, just dominate those platforms and career jobs in general, where the things that people couldn't imagine, seeing somebody that looks like us or doesn't look like us but comes from that diverse background ever be in. So I think that, like you said, it deals with a lot of people that don't want to educate themselves and just don't want to have that open mind and don't want to have that inclusivity of just bringing everybody together and showcasing that anybody can make it to that point. It just doesn't have to be white. It just doesn't have to be Black. It can be anybody. But, if we keep thinking that these spots only go to these specific people, then we'll never hit that mark. We'll never hit what the halftime show was trying to say. We'll never hit a point or, a society where people can just be themselves. You don't feel like, kind of like in the Kendrick performance where, him being himself and them dancing and getting along and having the high beats and the rapping is too ghetto. Then he slowed the music down and Uncle Sam said, this is what America wants, nice and calm. Don't mess this up. But then he messed it up, and that's when he got introduced to Not Like Us. But I like how he brought in Not Like Us because he didn't go into just singing it. He let the beat come in and out, and he was talking to his background dancers, and which I am so surprised. This is how, if you were in high school or middle school or anything, I am so sorry about how history classes failed y'all, or even if you're an adult, because I have never seen so many individuals not know what 40 acres and a mule mean.
Yeah.
I have never seen so many people online saying, he said 40 acres and a mule, this is bigger than the music. What is 40 acres and a mule? What is 40 acres and a mule? Now, if you don't know, it's okay. I'm going to hold your hand when I say this, all right? You came to the right place to get educated. 40 acres and a mule is what they promised the Black slaves when they were going to get free, all those things that, you would get this, you would get land, you would get the 40 acres, you'd be set up for life, your families would be okay, you can have this life that you want. They didn't get that. They got, in my opinion, more slavery and, more triumphs that they had to climb over and bigger reconstruction and bigger rebuilding that nobody wanted to help them with. But they got promised these gold things in hopes that, they would stay and they wouldn't leave and they wouldn't run away and things like that. So for Kendrick to bring that line up and say, this is bigger than the music, that was your whole thing. I remember weeks prior to the Super Bowl, everybody was asking, do you think they're going to let him say Not Like Us? Do you think he's going to play Not Like Us? Do you think he's going to say Drake name at the Super Bowl? We were so infatuated with Not Like Us and everything that it brought that Kendrick completely flipped it and left Not Like Us for the end, which I'm glad he did, because I feel like if he would have introduced with Not Like Us, he would have lost people. Starting with that and then leading into, the Black Power and all that activism, he would have lost people. Nobody would have stayed, which it sucks to say that people stayed just to hear Not Like Us, but at least he got people looking at him. I feel like he played it tactfully to get those people engaged, and that's why he kept playing the Not Like Us beat for people to be like, he about to drop, then he didn't drop it. But then he dropped it when he did all that freestyle stuff, and then as soon as he went into it, I was like, yeah. And then Serena Williams, the camera went to Serena Williams crip walking. I was like, oh my God.
I think for context, and I learned this, I want to say this past week, but I believe 2012, almost a decade ago, Serena, she was, crip walking, I think at the U.S. Open.
Yes.
She wound up receiving controversy. She hated for it. And now she did it on one of the largest stages in America, possibly the world. And, of course, she probably still received hate, but I just love how, I think one thing for sure has happened. It's time to change to where, our priorities to what, I guess for most people, when I say this, our priorities to what is actually harmful and harmless has changed. Dancing on the stage like that, that's harmless. It's not doing anyone any harm. But, just seeing her, I can't do the dance. I don't want no. So, but just seeing her, do the dance. That was one of my most favorite
save. Good save. Good save.
My most favorite things, part of that performance. That and SZA. Too. Yeah.
Yeah, no. So first of all, SZA, no backtrack, all vocals.
Yeah.
She ate that down, both songs. Luther's one of my favorite songs that him and SZA have done collab together. I feel like they're such a good musical pair. They come out with banger after banger. Like, so when they did Luther and then they jumped into All the Stars, I was like, yes, this is the sidetrack to. And then, like I said, I just really feel like the show was so meticulously done in the sense of if you felt like people were leaving, those two songs brought them back. Or those two songs brought specific audiences back to pay attention to that finale. And then we're talking about Not Like Us. Not Like Us wasn't even the last song. The last song was TV Off. And then he brought DJ Mustard out there, and they did their whole little part and screaming Mustard at the Super Bowl. Again, I was yelling at my TV the whole time. You would have thought I was there. I should have been there, actually. Super Bowl should have hired me for endorsements and, advertisements, because I would have got the viewers, okay? Keep the camera with me at all times. I should have been there.
Roger Goodell, if you're listening.
Man, if you're listening, just we could talk later.
Let us know.
Let us know something. But yeah, like the Serena Williams thing, and yeah, that's such a good point. And I feel like it was such her moment. And I'm glad that Kendrick gave her that spotlight to shine, to showcase that, like, yes, I can be this famous, renowned tennis player, and yes, I can have all these accolades, but I'm still just a girl from LA. Yeah. I'm still just a girl from Compton, and that'll never take away where I come from and who I am. And crip walking don't mean I'm not professional. That's just what I like to do. And I really hope that, having shows like this and, people showcasing that reality of them, not like the facade of them, or it's a lyric in Kendrick Lamar's Man in the Garden that he played at the Super Bowl too. I can't remember specifically, but he was basically asking, do people want the shameless me or the famous me? So do you want the shameless me, which, I don't care how you see me, I'm just me, or do you want the famous me, which is this, gold ideology that people make of me, that how I should be and how I should act and how I should dress. So you can't have both, so which one you want? So I definitely think this was Serena's point to showcase that, like, look, this is me. I still, I have this history behind me. That's never going away. But the black in me is never going away either. You can't take the black away when people get higher up. That's never going away. So let's stop acting like it's this big poison to these people either. Being black isn't degrading. Being black is actually beneficial, okay? If we get into it, and being black gives you that depth for these people to relate to all these other different communities and things like that. So yes, I definitely think Serena Williams having her moment was fantastic. I think her coming in with the camera and it's just being her for those like 30 seconds was great, and then it came back to her, and then it went back to Kendrick, and everybody was dancing on the floor. I really think it was good. It really was good. And speaking of DJ Mustard and Kendrick, a few weeks before that, the Grammys, they swept at the Grammys, and Kendrick took home like 4 or 5. He took home 5 Grammys. How do you feel about that? And they playing Not Like Us, not censored. They said every word at the Grammys playing Not Like Us. And everybody's dancing. Blue Ivy was singing. Beyonce was dancing. Taylor Swift. Let me tell you something about Taylor Swift, okay? I may not listen to Taylor Swift music, but that's my dog, okay? Because Taylor Swift was dancing to Not Like Us like she'd never danced before at the Grammys. So how do you feel about that? I feel like that's history breaking to me.
That's history breaking. Yeah. I think that's the only way you can describe it as history breaking. I think this is this line from Drake. Kendrick just opened his mouth. Someone passed him a Grammy or whatever it's however it's go, and then he won 5. And then he won 5. But yeah, I think his Grammy performance. It was, I think, in full honesty, it was one of the things that you would hope would come out of the Grammys. I think, with a bunch of people being a bit turned off from the Grammys in recent years because of certain people not winning the awards they deserved, this year kind of proved to be, the exceptional year. Not because, Kendrick won 5 awards or he got to perform Not Like Us, uncensored, by the way. But just the message and the symbolism behind it, which is people are starting to listen. People are starting to, I guess, in this sense, wake up and listen to the tune that's been playing all along. And I think part of that is, whoever runs the Grammys and said, okay, I don't know how they like decided like they're gonna have like Drake perform, not Drake, Jesus. Oh man. Have Kendrick perform.
Right.
Sorry, I'm sorry. Not sure how they would was like deliberating how they're gonna have Kendrick perform, but just for them to have him in that conversation says a lot. Considering the fact, I think like 10 years ago, if Kendrick performed a song like that at the Grammys, he probably would have been banned for life.
Oh yeah,
So
for sure.
he would have been banned for life. He would have been blackballed from the Grammys, from just the entertainment business, just for simply performing a song like that.
Yeah.
Versus now, you're seeing it word for word and bar for bar, uncensored, and nothing happens. Of course, you'll wind up receiving controversy from, like all ranges and whatnot, but you're not banned from the Grammys.
Right.
Yeah, so I think overall it was a great performance. Like you said, it was history breaking, and I'm just like excited to see like what music itself has like going into next year.
Yeah.
I want to see who performs at the Super Bowl next year.
Who are they gonna
can't
bring
think of
after
anyone.
this?
Yeah, I can't think of anyone.
Listen, if it was me, I'd be like, nah, I just don't think I can do that. Because obviously whoever comes up next, you're gonna want to feel like you can top it. You're gonna want to feel like you can do a show that'll top what last year did. But last year being this year, you got to get in the studio right now. I don't know. But yeah, I definitely was super excited, looking at clips of the Grammys. I was never a person who watched award shows like that anyway. So I always felt like, nah, they kind of rigged. Like, they kind of, nah, these same people keep winning every year. Like, what am I watching this for? But seeing him come home with 5, again, bringing up my favorite artist, it felt like I kind of got the feeling how people felt when Michael Jackson swept the Grammys and he kept coming up there and he had a handful of Grammys. Because Kendrick took the same picture with all his Grammys in his hand. I'm like, look at that boy. Look at that black man coming home with all those awards. And I keep saying history breaking because I hope we continue to make the change so where one day we don't have to call this history. This is just normal.
Yeah.
Artists like these have that fair chance, and we don't have to look at it with such stars to the eyes like, oh my God, this has never happened. But it's a simple fact that it's happened before, but it's not in groups. You know what I'm saying? And even for the smaller artists like Doechii winning a Grammy, I was so happy because for her category, she's the 2nd or 3rd woman, period, to win in that category alone. And for the fact of her to be a black woman to do it, it's like we're making those changes now that I hope one day people just look and be like, oh, that always happens. Like, oh, they were always a part of that category. Oh, they had a fair shot at winning. It was just that 0.1 difference or that 0.5 difference. And, things like that to where we don't have to keep pushing and fighting for things that should be normal. Like artists like Kendrick Lamar and Doechii winning Grammys should be normal. Artists like Beyonce should be normal. These things should be normal. They shouldn't get hate for being good at what they do. They don't deserve hate for being good musicians. And in fact, you're hating because you know how good of a musician they are, and you're mad. That's it. You're mad.
I think like with that, I'd be amiss if I don't mention how Beyonce not only won all of the awards she did, but she won Country Album of the Year. She is the first black woman to win Country Album of the Year.
I think so.
Yeah. That, and she wound up receiving controversy because of that.
She definitely did.
I think like even with that, it just shows that you could win an Oscar, you could win a Grammy, you could go to the Super Bowl and perform, and there will still be people find something to hate you about.
Something to talk about.
But I think she won Country Album of the Year. She won Album of the Year. That's her first Album of the Year, and she's been in the game for since before I was born. I was born like 2003.
Side note.
I'm not old. Well,
yeah, you are.
all right.
Yeah, you are.
Hey. No. But she's been in the game for over 20 years, and this is her first time winning Album of the Year. And even with that, there's some people saying, "Oh, I personally don't. And, people have opinions. Once again, that's like my biggest disclaimer. Not saying people can't have opinions, but I'm saying that there's just a bit ignorant voices saying, oh, she didn't deserve the award. She didn't deserve to win Album of the Year or Country Album of the Year. Billie Eilish deserved to win, or anyone else. And, everyone is talented in their own ways, but there's a reason why Beyonce won. The same reason why Taylor Swift won Album of the Year a couple of other times before. Or the same reason why a bunch of country artists, musicians won Country Album of the Year. I'm not sure if that's like the name of the right category.
We get you, though. We get you.
Fact check me.
Check me.
But yeah, there's a reason why these people are winning these awards. And some people might think it's rigged. And I think like my argument is the same people who are mad or upset that Beyonce won in these categories, they weren't saying that it was rigged when their artist or their favorite singer or musician was winning. But the year that they don't win, it's all of a sudden rigged. So I think, this, like, once again, someone could win a Grammy, they could win an Oscar, they could go perform at the Super Bowl halftime show, and yet there will always be something people will find to argue about, to talk about negatively. So I think that's my 2 cents, though.
It's your 2 cents.
Yeah.
Well, y'all, if you can't tell, we loved it. Not only did we love it, we love music, and we could talk about music forever. But yeah, we definitely talked about it the day the Super Bowl happened, and then the day after, and then the day after, and then so we're still talking about it because that show was just that monumental. And I definitely wanted to bring All Shades of Chocolate back on that note because it's a lot of what we talked about before, and we have definitely talked about Kendrick Lamar before on some previous episodes. We definitely talked about Beyonce and all those things. And I definitely wanted to give Kendrick his accolades and his praises because he did it, and he did it with confidence, and he didn't back down, and he said what he wanted to say without saying what he wanted to say. And he just did it, and he had the whole world watching. So a win is a win.
Oh, yeah.
To me, a win is a win. But yeah, you got anything else to say? I thank you for coming back with me, though. I really do appreciate you. This felt comfortable again. Y'all, I'm back.
Oh, yeah.
I'm here again. Okay, I'm here.
I think, not like related to what we were talking about, but, recently celebrated my 1 year here at the State News. For those who don't know, for whatever reason, I'm the student life reporter, not student affairs. Used to be student affairs. But, I think one of the first podcasts I went on when I came here was All Shades of Chocolate. Everyone else that was on the podcast, y'all have welcomed me with open arms. I was nervous. I was sweating bullets.
Yeah, I remember.
You go back, watch that episode. I was stumbling over my words. I was talking like this. Biting my tongue. But now I'm talking confidently because you guys opened me up to where, I can speak confidently about whatever's on my mind. Not whatever's on my mind.
Right.
But, you speak confidently enough to where, there's people who are listening and watching that, will agree with me. Or some who may not agree with me, and that's perfectly okay. But I think I would be amiss if I wouldn't say that the work that you have done, everyone else here at the State News has been doing last year is phenomenal. Even Taylor, their work is so good.
Yes.
I think honestly, without Taylor, without them just constantly coming in, we probably wouldn't have any podcasts right now, guys. But yeah, once again, that's my 2 cents.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Oh, I hit the mic. Hit the mic. Well, yeah, I definitely don't have no much more to say. Like I said, thank you for being my first to get back on All Shades Chocolate. Thank you, Taylor, for working with me to get All Shades Chocolate back up running. I'm definitely happy to be back. There will definitely be more episodes. I'm happy to have my yap session every week because our yappers need to yap, okay? And yeah, with all that being said, thank you guys for tuning in. This has been All Shades Chocolate, where
Demonte
and I have brought the sweetest, the hottest Black culture to MSU. And remember to stay sweet. Bye.
See ya.